Okay, so let's move on. Let's go to 3.3. So 3.3 just adds on the notion of else clauses to what we were working with in 3.2. So it doesn't really add a whole lot of new information. So let's see. This first one is called positive or negative, and it asks you to write a program that asks the user for a number. And you're going to use an if else to determine if the number is positive or negative. Okay. And then a number is going to be considered positive if it's greater than or equal to 0, and otherwise it's going to be negative. Okay. And then they just kind of put this here. 0 is neither positive nor negative, but we're just going to consider it positive for this problem. All right. So let's start off by just filling in some comments of the steps. So we know we're going to use the scanner because we want to ask the user for stuff. So create our scanner is the first step. Create a scanner object. Then you're going to prompt the user for a number, and I think it's just whole numbers if I'm looking at this. It doesn't actually say. We'll just say that for a whole number. And then we're going to store the user's answer as an int. And then we want to check to see if the number is greater than or equal to 0, positive, put it in quotes because I know that 0 is not positive. If it is, print the number is positive. Otherwise, so I know that that's my keyword for else, print the number is negative. All right, so there's all my steps. So let's go ahead and start converting these comments into Java code. So we're gonna first create our scanner object, so scanner input, and then I'm gonna do a call to my constructor, new scanner, and then in between, so in my call to my constructor, I'm gonna pass in system.in, and here comes my prompt. So my prompt's gonna be a print statement, system.out.print line. And I'm just gonna, they don't provide a prompt for us to use, so I'm just gonna make one up. Enter a whole number. Then we're gonna go ahead and use that input object to store it as an int. So I'm gonna say int number gets, and then I'm gonna call that next int method. Okay, so now I have that answer, and now I need to just check if the number that the user gave me is greater than or equal to 0. So I'm going to say if number is greater than or equal to 0, then I'm going to hang on, let me get my curly braces in there. Then I'm going, actually I want that up here. Then I'm going to do this. I'm going to print out that the number is positive. So that's going to be a print statement, system.out.print line, and then I'm just going to say the number is positive. The number is positive. And so what's new in this section is that instead of putting multiple if statements, we're going to do what for our otherwise? What are we going to put instead of another if statement? Else, yeah. So else, otherwise, we are going to print out the number is negative. So let me copy that. And I'm going to just change that to negative. Okay, so that should be it. So let's try that out. Run code. Okay, so I'm going to enter first a positive number. Let's do 9. So the number is positive. And then let's try a negative number. Let's do minus -8. And that's the number is negative. Let's also try 0. So that should say it's positive. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and check that. And it looks like we got it. Oh, it's just saying a difference because they put that and I put the. Doesn't matter. It'll still result in passing the tests here. Okay, so we've got time for one more. How about it? Let's do one more. Let's do battleships. May as well. Okay, so we've got a battleship class. Uh-oh. All right, so maybe this is like a battleship game. We're gonna fill in the move method for the battleship class. It takes one parameter, a Boolean, and indicated if it is safe to move forward. Okay, so true if it's safe to move forward, false if it should not move forward. If it is safe to move forward, the position of the ship should increase by 5. If it's not safe to move forward, then the position of the ship should actually decrease, like they're backing up, by 5. All right, so that's kind of interesting. So this is the tester class. It looks like they're just, they have already filled out all of our tests for us. So what we want to do is we want to go to the battleship class here and just kind of check it out first before we start coding. So it looks like we have access to 2 private instance methods, or sorry, private instance variables. So these are the qualities of a battleship object. We've got a string for ship type and an integer for the position where it is at. Here's the constructor that initializes those 2 private instance variables. Move is the method that we have to implement. We do have a method get position to actually get the value of the position, and then they have a toString created for us that will print out the ship's type, and then at, and then position. So it's pretty good that they've given all those things to us. So now we just have to worry about this move class right here, or sorry, move method. So again, this move method moves the ship, but it will move it forward if it's safe to move forward. So if the safe to move is true, otherwise it'll move backwards. It'll subtract 5 from the position. Okay. So because safe to move is already a Boolean variable, we don't need to compare it to the true to true. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Well, actually, they have an example here. We could just say if safe to move. We don't have to say if safe to move double equals true. We can leave that part out. So we could just say that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to write the if statement that checks to see if safe to move is true. So I'm going to write if safe to move. Remember, I don't have to say this because it's already a Boolean. If it's safe to move, then I want to increase the position by 5. And I know that position is represented by a variable called position. So I can say position, I could say position gets position plus 5. I can say it that way. Or I can say the shorter way, position plus equals 5. Same thing. So increase position by 5. Okay. And otherwise, else, I want to decrease position by 5. So I'm going to say position minus equals. So this is decrease position by 5. And that's it. That's all you really have to do. So if it's safe to move, move forward by 5 spaces. If it's not, then back up 5 spaces. So let's go ahead and test that out. Okay, so let's see what these results are to see what they mean. So the submarine is at position 4, and carrier is at position 10. And we check the initial positions, so that's what those first 2 lines are. And then here's a test to safely move the submarine. So submarine is cleared to proceed. And so we see the submarine's position is now 9, which is 5 more than what it was. So it has successfully moved forward. And then now we're going to check an unsafe move. The carrier is not cleared to proceed, right? So we pass in false. And because it is not safe for that carrier to move forward, we can see that the carrier is now at position 5, which is 5 less than where it was to begin with. So it's now backed up. So it looks like that our code is actually working as intended. Let's go ahead and test it. And we do see that we get the correct results. So we'll go ahead and end it there. Once I upload these videos, you will have a complete set of videos to walk you through finishing 3.2 if you need them, and you'll have the first 2 questions for 3.3 done for you as well. In 6th period, I will probably go over the remaining 2 exercises for 3.3, so you'll have that as a set as well. To finish up 3.3 by, I've changed the due date to Wednesday of next week just to give you some extra time. All right, so next week we will start on 3.4, and it is a short week, so I may not give you homework that week because I don't want you working over Thanksgiving break, definitely. So I just want to make sure that you know of our schedule. It's on our school website. So next week, actually, let me stop recording real quick.